Hmm. Bonjour, Kinamagi and Nene Ireland Indigenous, and welcome to Social Studies for this Tuesday. We will be engaging with Chapter 1, Section 4, Thinking like a Geographer. To engage with our social studies today, we will be visiting our social studies topic, and we find today's work for this Tuesday, Chapter 1, Section 4. Within this, you'll find the objective. I can describe how geographers study the world and answer basic questions about maps. There's directions. Read the attached PDF or view this video. Then return here and use the attached Google form to answer questions on the reading. We will cover this in just a moment. But let's begin at the text. You may choose to read a paper copy of this as you listen to me read, or you may just follow along as I read. So you see at the top, there is a header, section 4, Thinking like a Geographer. There is an inquiry question, how do geographers study our world? You see the same image here about thinking like a historian, and this one I'm more focused on maps. So let's begin reading here on page 17. Geography is the study of the Earth's surface, how it changes over time, and how humans interact with the environment. It includes the study of place, landforms, bodies of water, and both physical and human characteristics of all regions on the Earth. Geographers use tools like maps, globes, and global information systems, such as satellites. You already know that maps are very important to geographers when it comes to interpreting the world. There is also a really good chance that you have some experience with maps already. It could be that you or someone you know needed a map for directions to a location. You may have seen them in a class, or you may have even used them to find your way around a place like an amusement park. No matter what you use them for, maps are very handy tools. Quite often now, our maps are going to be found not in the glove box of a car all folded up, but in this format here, a Google map or Apple Maps or some other online device that helps us find our way around places. During the course of my lifetime, we went from where we literally would have a paper copy of a map that we would find the places to now our phone telling us what to do. It is using newer technology, but the skill is still the same. We need to be able to read a map. And when we study geography, maps are very important. You need to know where one state ends and another begins. So you really need to know, if you're traveling, where does the United States end? Where does Canada or Mexico begin? You might, as a fun activity, make a map of your house or your neighborhood. That's optional. Little bonus points in my mind for you. If you take a picture of it and send it to me, or if you bring it into class. Continuing the reading here on page 18. There are some basic things everyone needs to know about maps. The first thing is that not all maps are the same. There are actually many different types of maps, like physical, climate, economic resource, political, road, and topographical. You are probably most familiar with physical and political maps, but many maps have their place in social studies. You may have used some of the more specialized maps as well when studying resources, the economic development, or the types of vegetation in an area. And where I'm pointing here, first is a political map. You see the state borders here. Although if you go into a state map, you might see county borders, including reservations such as ours. You see a physical map where you can see, okay, Here's where the more mountainous and higher terrain is. Here are river valleys. Here's coastal plains. If you're going through topographical, we'll show you the height above sea level, so you can kind of see some of the things you'll see in a physical map, but much more specific. A climate map might tell you if it's hot and dry, or if it's a cool and wet kind of environment. Economic maps might tell you what places produce which products. Now back to the reading. There are some things that most maps have in common. For instance, most maps have something on them called a legend or a key. I'll use both terms successfully here. In the legend, you will find some basic information about the map. It will show you what different symbols mean and what different colors represent. The legend may also contain a scale. This tool helps you see how far distances are in real life. It is the tool that allows us to see the picture of a large place on a small map. So if I were to ask you, where do you find basic information about a map? You would say the legend or key, either answer. It's important to understand this, as it'll really help you learn how to use particularly the type of maps that are hanging in the classroom, or if you find a folded map, but we do have some and we'll look at them in class if you're in my groups A or B. But it helps you be able to use the maps. And we've kind of gotten a little spoiled when the little voice on the phone tells us turn left 2 miles or continue on this road. There's more to maps than that. Back to the reading on page 19. There will also be a compass on the map. And the compass tells you north, south, east, west. This helps orient the reader to the cardinal directions on the map: north, south, east, and west. So if I ask you, what are the cardinal directions? North, south, east, west. It is important to line up a map correctly. Turning a map does not change the actual directions of the earth. North is still north, no matter which way the paper copy is facing. Also, in our cultural classes, you should be learning how to say these words in Inishda Bemoin. And I'll be checking in with you on that in class. The last big thing you will see on some maps is a type of grid system. The grid system, as you can see, here's a line going this way, the east-west, and then there are some north-south lines. These ones going this way are latitude, these ones longitude. These lines are called the lines of latitude and longitude. If you have ever used a global positioning system, you probably just called it a GPS device, you have made good use of these lines, probably without knowing it. These lines are imaginary in that you can't physically see them, but we do use them to locate places on Earth. Two of these lines, the prime meridian and the international date line for longitude, and the equator, split the globe into 4 main hemispheres. Remember that term, hemispheres. That means half, sphere means of the ball. So like half the Earth is in a hemisphere. But we break it down into 4. We have the north and south, or we have east, west, depending on how you want to divide the Earth. There are some very important lines of latitude and longitude that you may have heard of. The main line of latitude is the equator. This line runs along the very middle of the Earth. There's also a line of longitude called the prime meridian. It goes through Greenwich, England. This line helps us with our global time system. It is the reason that time makes sense as humans travel around the world. If you have ever tried to call someone in another country or somewhere else in the United States, you have probably had to work with this system. When you have completed this reading or this video, I'd like you to go back into our Google Classroom to Social Studies 1.4, and here is the assignment for you to do. Question 1, what is your name? I just need first names, it'll be all right. 2, how do geographers study the world? You list the tools, or give a very basic. I'm not looking for a very long answer. 1 to 2 sentences tops. Next one, a multiple choice. Which map feature provides basic information about the map? Lines of latitude, the legend or key, or the colors on the map? Next question, which English city does the prime meridian run through? London, Leicester, Greenwich, or Manchester? And the final question, the equator, international dateline, and prime meridian divide the Earth into four of what? Hemispheres, zones, teams, slices. When you are done, click submit, and you will have completed today's assignment. I hope this gives you an overview of what it's like to be a geographer. There are so many more awesome details, and we'll get a chance to use maps and think about how they can give us information throughout this year. Hope you all have a Minogishigad. Bama P.